Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, with my co-host, Daniel Bobo Kurlan. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fine, relieved after that Rangers win. I was kind of a little nervous there.
Yeah, man, especially, they had 2-goal leads twice in that game. It was 3-1 and then it was 2-0, and both times Vancouver really didn't let you get too comfortable.
Yeah, it was one of those games where it's like we won, and we won in regulation, but it's like even when we're leading, I'm still yelling at the TV.
Exactly. Hey, just another great game from Mika Zibanejad. And boy, how great has Philip Hedl been this year, man? Where would the Rangers be without Hedl, right?
Yeah, Fiedel has definitely been like the unsung hero of this team this year.
No doubt about it. And I love seeing him excel like this. This is, what we've really been waiting for. Obviously, in first-round picks, we had great success with, guys like Keandre Miller, who had 3 assists tonight. That guy is out of this world. And unfortunately, we're still waiting for guys like Kakko and Lafreniere to pan out. But it looks like, that kid line is getting really hot, man. I mean, Filipino looks like a legit player. Capo Kakko shows flashes a lot, but it looks like he's starting to be more consistent. And Lafreniere scored another goal tonight, and looks like he's starting to get on a roll too, man.
Yeah, exactly. This team's finally starting to get a roll right at the right time down the stretch run. I can tell you it's going to be an exciting stretch run full of me maybe downsing some beers and getting nervous and being on the edge of my seat. This is one of the most exciting times of the regular season. Can't wait for this, and it's going to be a real exciting playoffs that hopefully I'm gonna look like hopefully I'll look like a lumberjack at some point during the playoff run with how playoffs happen. I'll put the razor away for maybe a little while.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's the name of the game. You get that playoff beard going strong, and that means you're going deep into May and hopefully June if everything works out right to the Stanley Cup final, which the Rangers just were 2 wins shy of last year. So, if they take that extra step forward this year, which we expect them to, they'll be in pretty good shape, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you remember what my beard looked like around that time last year.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, me and you both had beards going.
I have a feeling that the next year's could be thicker.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely, man. I mean, a little bit more gray in that beard maybe this year, but hey, I'll take that if the Rangers are going on a deep playoff run. And hey, the thing that we have to remember too is that before they go on this playoff run that we've been expecting, and they go out there and clinch a playoff spot, hopefully eventually, which they're in the top 3 right now, so they're pretty good. They're out of that wild card picture, but it's still an inevitable thing they have to do is clinch that spot. We still have to face the trade deadline too. And one other thing about the deadline we have to keep in mind is that the Rangers all season have been playing with 22 players on their roster. And what that, a full roster, like in baseball, a full roster is 26. Well, in hockey, a full roster is 23. But you could choose to play with less. And the Rangers have been playing with 22, leaving that extra roster spot open to gain cap space. It's a technique that a lot of GMs do in the NHL where they can get more cap space specifically for the trade deadline by having as least amount of cap hits on your roster as possible, and and the lowest that you have too. So what Drury was trying to do is get as much money available to the team by the deadline. But the interesting thing over the last couple of days is that they've gone back to 23. They brought Sammy Blais back up from Hartford, who had a really great run there for a week when the Rangers sent him down there. I believe he scored 4 goals in 5 games, which if you remember too, Sammy Blais still hasn't scored a goal for the Rangers. None of the 17 or 18 games he played last year, and every game he's played for the Rangers so far this season, he still has not scored his first goal for the Rangers. But he's back now, and he's looking a little bit better than he had, but they're still keeping Julien Gauthier, who I think has earned his roster spot so far this year, and a couple of the other guys. So they're playing with a full roster right now. What do you think, Dan? A lot of people are saying that this means that a trade or some kind of move is in the works or imminent. Do you think that that's a possibility, that even a month before, or so before the trade deadline, maybe Chris Drury is going to strike now?
I just have a feeling any moment now it's gonna happen. I'm hitting the refresh button on the Twitter app, and of course, also speaking of Twitter, I'm sure you've heard lately. On Twitter, there's a thing like everybody's getting that message when you try to click on a new person to follow. It tells you can't follow lately. You've been seeing that, right?
Yeah, I got that a couple of times over the last few days. You're right. I don't know, what's going on with that.
Yeah, I've been getting it today. I don't know what's been going on, but yeah, hopefully by the time everyone's watching this episode, that's sorted out. But
Hopefully, but if not, Elon Musk, you have an open invite to come on Best Seat in the House podcast and discuss it with us.
yeah, maybe offer us a ride in one of those SpaceX rockets. I wouldn't mind that.
You know what?
I wouldn't mind taking a trip at outer space.
Absolutely, man. I mean, me and you were kind of out there to begin already, so it would only make a lot of sense to put us in outer space. Actually, we're going to be out of this world this weekend when we're having our Super Bowl special. Because while we're talking about guests and everything, real quick, we might as well just announce right now that we're going to be putting out a Super Bowl special, like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. It'll probably be going out on Saturday, the day before the game, and we're going to have as a guest the Reverend Bob Levy. Terrific guest, Dan, right? You're pretty excited about that.
Bob Lee, legend. Everywhere he's been on, it's like been gold. I mean, this guy's a legend. Plus, that he's one of the greatest people I've known.
No doubt about it. He absolutely is a legend, too. You're right.
So it's always great. Definitely go see him live when you get the chance. I'm not sure I've seen him live a couple of times. Have you seen the Reverend Bob Levy live before yet?
Oh, yeah, I've seen Bob Levy live, and unfortunately, though, I really wanted to attend DabbleCon this past weekend in Rochester. I wasn't able to make it because of work and everything, but it really went off without a hitch. Shuley, Bob Levy, Anthony Cumia was up there, Chrissy Mayer, Carl from WATP, just Mike Morse. Really, really awesome list of guys they had up there. And a really great event, and Bob Levy closed and killed it.
Yep, definitely. I already had plans I had made that weekend, so it was weird it was like weird scheduling when I found out they were doing this, and it was like weird scheduling at a time. I actually could have if scheduling would have worked out and I would have been available that weekend. Of course, I could have got a ride up there, and
Sure.
maybe I would have had to have brought a winter coat or something because it's and Rochester freezing as cold in the middle of nowhere. Like I don't know that. Maybe some of you locals maybe know a little bit more about Rochester, but I've passed through or maybe briefly been and stopped through. I think that some of the few times I was like maybe stop away somewhere else when we were in Western New York, and it was like, what the heck is there to do, especially during the winter?
Yeah.
Western New York, like I thought it was an odd choice for DabbleCon and wet York. especially during the coldest time of year in that area.
Yeah,
I
that
think,
is true. That is true. It's definitely a curious location and everything. But when you really think about it, Carl lives up there, and I think this was really just like more of a trial run that they were doing just to see if people were into it. And man, it looked like they had a great reception, a great crowd. They were posting videos and everything from the dabbies they had up there, and a lot of fun.
well, I even saw someone who traveled from one freezing cold part of the country to another to go, which surprised me.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that surprised me. Like someone who just took like the one opportunity they had to travel someplace, travel and or a cold place that you went someplace you probably wouldn't normally be going to if you're living someplace freezing cold like Colorado.
That's true. That's true.
Living in Colorado and going to Rochester in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's pretty much going from one iceberg to the next. And but hey, I'm sure everybody had a great time though.
Yeah, sure. I probably would have figured out something to do in Rochester if I would have been there. I probably would have figured that out.
Oh yeah, you just be like Costanza, throw on a Gore-Tex coat and you're good to go.
Yep, that's pretty much described me at the Winter Classic, 2008, 2018 NHL Winter Classic at City Field when I
That's
was
true.
that's literally what I looked like, and I looked like Kenny from South Park that whole game, but at the same time going nuts. And I can tell you, beers were freezing as soon as they people opened them. I heard.
Oh
I
yeah,
saw.
it doesn't surprise me. I'm pretty sure, wasn't it like 15 degrees that day?
Yeah, maybe felt even colder than that because they were.
Oh
I
yeah.
I didn't drink any beers at the stadium that day until I think after the game. I had a couple of beers at Donovan's. I had a beer and a burger after the game. But the only real thing I consumed during the game was a hot chocolate in a souvenir mug, which of course, I still save that souvenir hot chocolate cups when I consumed. But I I saw there were some fans that were drinking some beers and they were free. I heard some complain that they were freezing as soon as they opened them.
Yeah, well, that's the in that kind of weather, it can't be avoided, and I don't blame you for just having the hot chocolate because I'd have been doing the same thing. In that kind of weather, I wouldn't have been able to drink that cold beer.
But I swear when I walked the walk from the train station to Donovan's after, right, 61st Street Woodside of walking to Donovan's, my feet felt like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining, despite all the winter socks and everything. But I thawed out fine at Donovan's, had a burger and a beer, and grabbed an Uber back home the rest of the way instead of waiting for the bus.
Well, very cool, man. I mean, that was definitely a great game, great day. Unfortunately, the last local outdoor hockey game we've had. Hopefully, they have one coming at least in the next year or two for us. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. But Dan, is there anybody just to get back to the Rangers real quick? Because we did get sidetracked with that. I did like our little detour there. But do you have your eye on anybody in particular for the Rangers to add at the deadline? That there have been a lot of rumors.
I feel there's one or two possibilities we might go through at the deadline. Either probably Patrick Kane or potentially JT Miller. I
JT Miller, yeah, that's a good one too.
though I feel there's more likelihood with JT Miller being the fact how much they'll be asking for Patrick Kane.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it depends too because Kane also has that big time salary, so you would have to give up a decent amount to get Chicago to eat the amount that you would need to make it fit in your cap. So you're right about that. And but you know JT Miller, I'm not sure because didn't he just sign a big contract with them? So I'm not sure if because I think that would be tough to get JT Miller. I would like to see it because I love him as a Ranger. but I'm not sure. The other guy I heard too, I don't know how you feel about this guy, is from the Blues, Vladimir Tarasenko. Is that a guy that you would like to see the Rangers go after?
That's a good one I would love to see also. That would be a game changer, Vladimir Tarasenko. I mean, the guy's got plenty of playoff experience. I mean, he's got Cup Finals experience. He's got that championship credibility. So he would be a game changer. I feel.
I think you're right too, and it all depends if he is 100% healthy or not. Because I was looking at his numbers the other day. I think he's been banged up a little bit this year. He's only got 10 goals and 19 assists, but if the Rangers can get their hands on him and get him right, I totally agree with you that he is the definition of a game changer. Because if you look at the Rangers roster, you know, the one flaw that they have a great goalie, they have great defensemen, very deep and young for the most part. Um, they do have a bunch of great forwards, but unfortunately, a lot of those forwards are not right wings. And if you get a guy like Tarasenko that has that shot from the right side, that deadly sniper shot, that completely changes everything, especially also on the power play, which, as we've seen this year, we've really, really kept our fingers crossed that the loss of Ryan Strome wasn't going to that much adversely affect the team. But it looks like it really has sent Artemi Panarin a little bit back, and it definitely has set the power play back because Ryan Strome was a key ingredient on that power play last year, and it was a top 5 power play in the league, and now he's not here, and we're middle of the pack, right?
Yeah, that's what it's feeling like all season with their power play this whole season.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame Vinny Trocheck. It's not his fault. That's not his. It's not his fault that his game and Panarin's game haven't really meshed yet. It's been interesting to see Panarin back on that top line with Zibanejad. How do you feel about that, Dan? Do you think the Rangers should, keep Kreider and Zibanejad together, or do you like them mixing it up and seeing if they could catch anything, maybe lightning in a bottle with Panarin and Zibanejad playing the same line again?
I like them on this lineup together. I feel it's so far so good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. They're the two best players in the team. It always kind of, I don't want to say defied logic, but frustrated me that the former coaches didn't really give that more of a chance the past couple of years. But that first year that Panarin was there, he was doing so good. You really couldn't knock wherever David Quinn played him. And then last year with Gerard Gallant, everything just went so great all year with the team and the power play. And, maybe Panarin didn't score as many goals as you would have liked, but still the team won and everything was great. So you could not knock the way Gallant used him last year either. This year, I don't know, man. What do you think? Do you think that Artemi Panarin right now, as he stands with his game, is worth the 11 and a half or so $1 million that the Rangers pay him a year? I mean, I love the guy, but I really, really want to see more goal scoring out of it.
I feel like now he's starting to kind of he's starting to get more in a groove lately. He kind of got off to a little slow start this year, but it's starting off. And once this happens, look out.
That's true. And you know what? I think what you're saying too could make a big difference because I think if you add a guy like Tarasenko, who Panarin's familiar with and he hasn't played with in the past, but these are guys that know each other. They've played on the All-Star team together at times. They've I'm sure that they have uh, a lot of similarities, and it would be really interesting to see how Panarin's game would improve or stay the same depending on if they add a guy like Tarasenko because the Rangers could use that one big missing piece, right?
Yep, exactly. And I just have a feeling any moment now it's gonna happen.
And you know what too? I completely agree with you, but let's also give a little shout out to our crosstown rivals who we're not going to be seeing for the rest of the regular season, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. The Rangers and the Islanders don't meet again for the rest of the regular season until maybe the playoffs. But you got to give them credit lately too, right?
Got to give credit too. They just made a big trade.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of people. I saw a lot of Islander fans saying that Lou should just throw in the towel and trade a couple of their vets, get picks. And right now, I mean, you said it. They gave up a first round pick. They picked up Bo Horvat from Vancouver, who the Rangers played tonight. And Bo Horvat's a guy that, had 31 goals in the season. He was one of the top goal scorers in the league. Lou Lamoriello landed him for the Islanders. It's a big difference maker. This is a guy that could really help improve their power play. And, the Islanders had a really, really bad January. They pretty much lost all of January. And if you take that out, they're right in the middle of the pack. So it would be foolish to act like adding Bo Horvat to this team isn't going to vastly improve them, right, Dan? I mean, the Islanders, especially with that goaltender Sorokin, they're a viable threat.
Yeah, they're a viable threat. I see them maybe being a viable threat ending the season, maybe as a wild card.
I agree, and you know what? I think you'll agree with me on this too. I think this season is going to be the first time in a while. I'm not sure the last time this happened, but I think it's going to be the first time in a while we're going to see the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Devils all in the playoffs in the same year.
It's gonna be crazy, and I just know how crazy it's gonna be if the Rangers and Isles meet in the playoffs. I mean, it's gonna get crazy with me and my uncle Mike. Easy, my uncle Mike's an Islander fan.
Okay. There you go. So hey, the Islanders always have a good fan base too,
It's gonna get a little crazy with me and my uncle, and maybe some other Islander fans I know.
Yeah, man. And I mean, obviously the last time the Rangers and the Devils played in the playoffs was the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals that unfortunately the Rangers lost in game 6.
I remember that. I think I somehow my remote survived, but I got so upset that when I just rage turned off the TV after they scored that goal, and after Adam Rink scored that goal, I rage turned off the TV, and the batteries just fell all over the place. And luckily, nothing in the remote was damaged. The cover for the remote was not damaged, but I spent maybe a good 10 minutes searching for where the batteries fell. The back of the remote. I think maybe afterwards I I was playing I believe it was it was a I forgot the latest Gran Turismo at the time. That's what I was playing. So I was playing after that loss. I played some video games after.
Yeah, well, that's the only way you could drown your sorrows after that tough loss. I really thought the Rangers were going to win that series like they did in 94. But then, speaking of 94, the last time that the Rangers ended up playing the Islanders in the playoffs was in 1994 when they swept them out of the first round. And, it's really going to be interesting to see. I mean, especially that the Islanders knew, arena and everything with the playoffs. It's going to be real interesting to see how the Islanders respond to a playoff run outside of the old barn, as they call it over here in Nassau County, the Nassau Coliseum, and how a Rangers Islanders playoff matchup would look there, right? At
Yeah,
UBS.
no, it's going to be a very divisive crowd, and it's gonna be something. It's gonna be wild. I mean, I still remember in '94. Well, I was like 12. I was like 12 at the time, but I remember when the Rangers won that. I was happy, but uh, apparently my uncle at the time he wasn't happy, but I was sure happy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was 7, so I remember it, but at the time I didn't realize how much it meant, especially to people like that I watched that series with, like my grandfather and my uncle Bobby, who was a big Ranger fan, gave me my first Messier jersey when I was a kid, and the funny thing about that is that I would obviously I was young, and I'm sure you were probably very young and don't really remember how in the early 80s during the Islanders dynasty years, they tortured the Rangers. They pretty much knocked the Rangers out every year. And there were a couple of times that Ranger fans, I'm sure, felt like the Rangers had a real chance to make a run, but that Islanders dynasty team was just too deep and too great. So it must have felt like a good little measure of revenge that the Rangers were able to knock the Islanders out on our way to a cup, right?
Yeah, that rivalry. Yeah, it was a good one, and of course, I think we just manhandled the Cavs, and then of course that exciting series, of course, Beto, and then that exciting 7-game series, the guarantee, and that cup trip down to Canyon of Heroes. But yeah,
Absolutely.
we get more of it. We get more of this. We get another one of these memories this year because I'll, I'll be eager for another one.
You got that right, man. Let's see what the Rangers got. I think they have a very deep team, a very young team too, with a high ceiling, and a very good coach. Speaking of that, as time is winding down here, we're gonna call it a short show tonight, and we're gonna do a more regular show on our Super Bowl special this week, and this will be our little hockey talk episode. And Dan, before we get out of here, though, what are your thoughts on Gerard Gallant's job this season? Coming off a great year, his first season here last year.
I just feel like Gerard Gallant has been doing a good job. He's been keeping this team from not fall, falling too far at down out of line when we've had a bad stretch, and it he's got this team through this slow start very well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He was able to weather the storm. There were people earlier this year that were calling for his job who, that seemed a little ridiculous to me after how great they were last year, right?
I have to say that's how all the great coaches get this pretty much show their worth when they get through this tough stretch.
Very true. Very true. I'll hopefully a guy like Tom Coughlin, who we remember, who a lot of Giants fans wanted gone before they went out and beat the Patriots, because as you like to mention every week, pretty much, Dan, what was the Patriots record?
Eight, the eight they ended it 18-1, bitches.
That's right. And now that we got that in, I think we can officially just about end this episode. Dan, before we get out of here, what is you got any plugs?
Sure, I got my Twitter account Bobo103NYC, Instagram Bobo718DK, of course Daniel Kurlan on YouTube. There's some content there. Also, I have to say there's an upcoming probably gonna I guess some of the people that are a part of the Chip Chipperson his Patreon will get the episode earlier, but in 2 weeks I was on Chip Chipperson. So you're gonna on the chip on Chippa.
Very cool, man. Yeah, we were talking about before we went on air. So, if you guys get a chance, definitely check out Dan on Chippa. Just like he said, it'll be on Patreon probably on Saturday or Sunday, and then the following week it'll be on YouTube. So definitely check him out. Chip is hilarious, and Dan is always amazing when he's on Chip. So it's always a great time. So make sure to check him out there. Also, if you want to follow me, you can check me out on Twitter at my last name Cramer and Y, and you can check us on Twitter at bsith_podcast. All right, and thanks everybody for tuning in once again. So for Rob Cramer and Daniel Bobo Kurlan, this is the Best Seat in the House podcast, and we'll catch you next week.
Right, push the button, Frank.